going back to what Mind Eye says. I have a question for you. How many random / notable NPCs do you create for your world before the campaign starts? I have the main NPCs of each capital city in my world and the gods / and neutral faction leaders. But I'm working on a few others, but I overplan everything. How many should I make in reality? Ooh, this is a good topic. So, here's what's worked out in my experience. But before I end up telling you this, one thing I will say. There are different types of dungeon masters. There are some dungeon masters who don't like to prepare anything and just like to improv everything. There are some dungeon masters who like to write out at least text, maybe have a general outline and idea, and that's pretty much the session, right? The point is, everyone's a different dungeon master. They may fall into a different category, but one thing is true. Preparation is for you and only you. Or what may work for me to prepare my games probably will not work for you in your games. Because let's think about this. The reason why we prep most of the time is because we want to prepare the things that we just can't make up on the fly. And this is determined by, well, your improv skills or how well you're able to fly by the seat of your pants. Now, if you can't fly, if you're not the greatest at improv, that doesn't make you a bad DM. It just makes you a DM that's just not good at improv, right? I am working on getting better at improv myself because I used to, like, if my players would go off the script or whatever, right? Then I'd be completely I'd be screwed, you know? I'd be screwed. But that being said, I'm good at improving situations, just not names and backstories. Well, you just kind of answered your question on what you probably need to improv or prepare for. You may need to prepare on NPCs and names and backstories, and that may be it. So, to answer the question of what you were actually saying, how many should I make in reality? Now, personally, what I've always done is I always prepare stuff in the scope of what is the adventure. And then I will prepare, in a smaller scale, I'll prepare what I need for the session. What I'll end up doing is I prepare stuff that's going to be relevant to the campaign and the adventure. I'm not going to prepare the NPCs, like the leader of a capital or whatever, across, like, for a different, or like an entirely different continent that the players will never hear about. That is just there for world building, right? That's not really prep, that's more of just world building, and we're here to talk about prep. We're here to talk about the things that are going to be relevant to your game, and that goes into how I my prep style. I prepare things that are relevant to my game and that the players are actually going to interact and play, you know? That's just kind of what I do. Now, when it comes to NPCs on how many I should make, well, I'll make sure to have at least the NPCs that are relevant to the players' backstories. I'll make sure to have them set up. But one thing that I've mentioned actually last stream is I won't have a fully fleshed out backstory for them. I'll only have 3 sentences, maybe 5, maybe a paragraph or whatever at most. At most. The reason why is because, hell, you might change your mind on how you want an NPC to be presented. You might end up, or a player may end up viewing an NPC and they may view it a way that you didn't necessarily intend. Maybe they hate them. Maybe they want nothing to do with them. And when you've already had this NPC with this crazy backstory and all that stuff that you thought would be good, but it just wasn't, and it's not enjoyable for anybody at the table, well, now you just wasted a bunch of time and work and effort making something that's not really going to be used. So what I typically like to do for NPCs is I'll just have 3 sentences for them, and then, you know, after they interact with the likes of the party, then I will start fleshing them out after the fact. Now, again, going back to the number of how many I prepare the amount that I kind of need, and maybe a little bit more than that, but probably not, to be fair. If I know for a fact they're in the middle of, a dungeon, and they're in the sewers or whatever of the city, and they have no means of, like, going shopping right now or getting weapons done, why do I need to prepare for the blacksmith? It doesn't make much sense to me personally. I mean, sure, if I'm, like, completely done with all my sessions, like the main adventure, making it fun and all that stuff, then sure. I mean, why not? I enjoy world building. Sure, I'll make a blacksmith NPC that they might be able to go towards. Cool. And if they don't go towards said blacksmith NPC in this city, then hey, in the next city, I can just use the same blacksmith NPC. They'll never know, as long as you just don't tell them. I try to work smarter, not harder, right? That's just kind of my DMing style. Work smarter, not harder. Work what you need for, and then focus on making the adventures the best they can possibly be. That's my sort of take on it. I'm interested to see what you have to say.